Welcome to Along the Rock, brought to you by the Radar Free Press. I am your host, Kaitlyn Blum. Today with us, we have Ben Sondgeroth from the Learning Technology Center of Illinois.
You nailed it.
There we go, I said it.
You got the name right and the LTC correctly. You can refer to it as LTC from here.
LTC? Yep. That's easy.
Easier, yeah.
So can you tell us your position at the LTC and a little bit about your role there?
Yeah, sure. So I'm with the Learning Technology Center of Illinois, and I am the lead regional education technology coordinator, which is a really long title. So we've shortened everything in Illinois education is shortened to acronyms. So I am the lead RETC for the LTC, because that's not confusing at all. So what I do is, as a regional ed tech coordinator, I have the entire northwestern corner of the state of Illinois, and I support all the schools and districts in that region in anything educational technology. So that goes to hosting like networking events for technology directors to come and attend, to get to know what other schools are doing, to providing a lot of professional development to train teachers, consulting, presenting at conferences. It's just kind of a very all-encompassing position, which is really cool. Keeps me fresh and keeps me doing a lot of different stuff all the time. So yeah, it's a big region, 144 school districts that I get to support. Everything from like LaSalle, Marshall, Putnam County, all the way up to the Wisconsin and Iowa, Illinois state lines. I-39 kind of in west is kind of a nice like divider. And yeah, big area, but a lot of fun. So get to do a lot of neat things.
For the kids, like what skills when it comes to technology are you expecting are going to be like really essential for them to know in like the next 5 to 10 years?
So what we're working with schools is we're trying to, my kind of goal is always moving beyond like consumption is what I kind of like to kind of do, where we want to go away from like, hey, student, you have an iPad, you've got a Chromebook, and when you get home, all you do is you sit and you watch YouTube or you read on it or, whatever, like you're just consuming the information. And one of those things when we look at like future skills and traits that we're trying to help encourage is having kids learn how to be creators. And that doesn't mean like, hey, they're all gonna be YouTubers. It means like, I want you to know how you can use that device to create things, to create content, to create, to be a better even office worker, because you're able to use the tools effectively and have those digital skills that you know how to navigate different systems quickly and efficiently. And I think that's the skill set that our kids need in an ever-changing technology world, right? Is like, how can they navigate different systems quickly and efficiently by being able to create in those systems, right? And so it's not so much like, hey, here's a Google Doc, open it up and read it. I want the student to be able to know how to open up a Google Doc, read it, create a Google Doc, create a presentation based on the information in that Google Doc, be able to then disseminate that quickly and efficiently, because those are the types of skills that the work world is going to need, or does need right now, right? Is that creation concept. And getting away from the consumership, you challenge kids to be creative and think differently. So, bringing in, if we do want to go in like the creative side of it, more than just like the Office suite or the Google suite, it's like, how can we teach kids how to use tools like Canva to create flyers, to create engaging presentations that are different than a boring PowerPoint, right? Like, so that's kind of like the skills that I think are really necessary as we enter into what the future is, because we can't predict what technology looks like 5 years, 1 year, 2 years from now. Like, it's impossible with the ever-changing landscape. So, but if we can give kids those kind of core ability to like navigate the systems, they'll be successful in any sort of technology use. And so breaking that mold, right?
Yeah, teach them to navigate what systems we have currently, and that's going to set them up to navigate new systems in the future that you said we don't even know what those are going to look like.
Exactly, yeah. And if we can give them those things, like one of the things that I think is really interesting is, as a millennial myself, like I find when I teach teachers, one of the things they're like, oh, kids are so good with technology. And it's not that like they're better at it than anybody else, any other generation. I break it down to where they don't, like kids that grow up in today's world, our current students, our Gen Zers, and then even like millennials on the lower end, have all grown up with a world of autosave and a world of Google, where like my generation and beyond or older always has the scar tissue of like, if you didn't hit save, you lose everything. And so we're a little more hesitant not to just click buttons, where like one of the skills we can teach kids is nowadays to make them able to navigate those systems quicker and efficient It's like, just click the button because your stuff's already saved.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna come back. Like, you're not gonna lose it. Whereas like a millennial, myself and Gen Xers and everything, it's like, oh no, if I click that button, I might lose my research paper forever and I'm not able to turn it in. And then I have that scar tissue of like that issue. It's like, I don't wanna touch that button. I don't want to just. So one of the things is like giving kids that kind of creative freedom to be like, no, click the button, do the thing, navigate the system, figure out what it does, try to break it, because ultimately you can always get it back, right? And that's kind of one of those things we want to give kids, that kind of free will that then allows them to navigate different systems more efficiently when they get older.
Yeah, exploration.
Yeah, just explore. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, when it comes to like parents, like how can parents work with the schools and like make sure their kids are guided to use this technology like ethically? Yeah,
because that's a big thing, and that's part of that. Like, one of the things that's really challenging for our students and parents, and I'm a parent as now, like I have an 8-year-old in 3rd grade, and I have a 3-year-old, and we're trying. I'm always trying to have the conversation with him of like, listen, we don't want to just, and I know other parents battle this all the time. It's like, we don't want to just go home and sit on YouTube and watch and consume, and we want to be able to make sure he's watching responsible videos and not, we're not losing out on that monitoring capabilities. And then also like screen times, I don't necessarily like want to enforce like I don't want you on a screen at all times, but that's one of those conversations that parents need to have with the school district, but also like it's tough for the school to say like, don't have your kids on the screen because they have to do their homework on a computer. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about ethical conversations between parents and schools and tech use, it's really challenging. But I think it all comes down to like that creation mindset of it comes to screen time, it comes to computer use, it comes to digital consumption of like, how much time are kids spending online, and are they using the internet? Are they online in a way that builds them up, as opposed to like sitting there and brain rotting on TikTok for hours at a time? And it's a challenge because the school gives them a device, and then oftentimes the kids can access whatever they want on that device when they get home. And so it's a big issue, right? So one of the things I encourage parents to do is to monitor the activity that your kids are doing, right? Like just check in on them, ask them what they're watching, what they're doing, how are they consuming it. There's now a lot of the tech companies, it's really neat, and you can help the schools out with this, like, because the schools struggle with this conversation. I'm rambling a bit, but like, when do they start and stop policing how kids are using technology? Does it end at 2:30 when the school day's over, or do they continue to monitor it when they get home on that device? So that's where a parent-school partnership comes in with like the efficacy and keeping kids safe, and that's the challenge. So my encouragement to parents is like, just pay attention to what your kid's doing online. Like, you don't have to be over their shoulder all the time, but just take a peek, like have a look at it. The big tech companies are doing a really good job now of offering monitoring services to parents. Mm-hmm. And so you can monitor, like I have it set up with my son where I can see all of his YouTube history on my account, even though he's on his own account. Like I can set up parental controls on Facebook, on Instagram. You can monitor their stuff on their phones where you can set up app usage limits as a parent and control that. And I think that helps in the education world too, because then it teaches kids what a crafted balance between consuming content is and creating content and what that is. So it's got to be something that the parents help schools out with. Show them how you as a parent are also like not just sitting there brain rotting on TikTok or Instagram Reels.
Yeah, exactly, setting that example.
Set the example, right? Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what does it look like when it comes to AI in the classroom? Is it already in the classroom? Are you seeing it integrated? Is that something coming in the future?
Boy, we're there, man. Yeah, it's nuts. I have a pretty wild statistic as far as like what AI in the educational landscape looks like right now. And I gave my first presentation to teachers on AI in May of 2023. And we're sitting here in September of 25. And I have given over 115 AI specific presentations in that 2-year stretch to educators, which is a lot. Like that's blows any other topic out of the water that I've ever presented on, because there is so much inquiry on and questions and curiosity around this topic, right? Of like, where's it at? How does it fit into schools? And it's really been fun because what AI allows us to do is it allows teachers, what I try to promote is it allows teachers to be more efficient and help personalize learning for the students. So if we look at AI from a perspective of bringing it into schools with our educators, we're helping them free up time that then they can use their time more wisely, and they can actually pay more attention maybe to their kids. Like, they can have more personalized conversations with their students because the artificial intelligence systems that they're using are able to make their world better. Like, they don't have to spend as much time lesson planning, giving feedback on work, because they're able to use these systems to create that content that then allows them to engage with their kids maybe better, right? Or free them up from like having to do hours of work on the weekends, that they were otherwise having to do. So when we look at kind of the AI landscape as a whole, it's really fascinating. Most schools are embracing it, which is cool. I don't think I've ever seen a technology be embraced more quickly than AI, especially as one as what could be considered very controversial with AI. School districts are opening it up to staff. When we're talking about student use, we're still a little bit away from that. I think in a full-on implementation, we've got a lot of districts that are starting to have that conversation of what does it look like? Because kids have access to it. They can pull their phone out, they open up Snapchat, and the My AI bot is right at the top, right?
Yeah.
It's right there. They can download the app, they can get Google Gemini, like it's all available to them on their own. And so what we're having in the conversation is we're starting to instruct staff on appropriate uses and responsible AI use. And then we're gonna bring that conversation then to the students. And this is kind of the model that we're working on. So how can you as a teacher talk about responsible AI use and be a model for that, similar to how we talked about with the parents modeling it. So we want teachers to have those conversations with their kids, so that way a student just doesn't open it up, type in a prompt, copy and paste.
Yeah.
That's irresponsible, right?
Exactly.
So what we're looking at is like, how can we teach our kids what responsible AI use looks like?
Excellent. I'm really excited. It's already getting, integrated into the workforce so rapidly.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see these teachers be able to take advantage of it, and then to eventually see these students prepared for the workforce, for the AI integrated workforce that is inevitable.
It is, and that's what we're trying to lead with, right? Is like, yeah, it's scary, but it's the major tech companies are investing so much money in this technology that it's gonna be here. It's already here, but it's gonna be implemented even further as it continues to grow. So we got to prepare the students to understand how to use it. I think I always say his last name wrong, but it's Jensen Huang, I think, or Wang Wang. He's the CEO of NVIDIA, and they make the chips that power the AI databases, right? So they're the most profitable, or the most have the largest market cap on the stock market right now. They're huge. And he has a quote that the world will not be controlled by AI in the future, but the world will be controlled by people who know how to use AI. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the point, right? It's like you can't ban AI from high schools, because then we're not doing a service to our kids to prepare them for what's coming, right? And that's the important part. Like, the role of school is to prepare kids for the future, and it's unpredictable, but it is something. So we got to bring AI in, but we got to bring it in correctly.
What do you foresee just being the biggest risks in terms of technology when it comes to our youth?
So I think it goes to that, like, the consumption thing, and we can actually tie in a couple of those conversations. We can tie in the consumption part from earlier of like getting the kids off of just like sitting there and scrolling, because what that does is that brings in different misconceptions of what the world is like, about how people live. You always get the Instagram versus reality conversation, right?
Yeah. And
that can have a really negative effect. We've seen that. And then we can tie that in with AI too, where if we're using AI tools inefficiently or irresponsibly, where we're just having it replace our own thinking, that's a scary part, where we could live in two different, basically live in a different world, right? Or we are just creating content that isn't ours, or we're just relying on technology to do everything for us. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge, where we need to use technology as a partner and not as a replacement.
Yeah.
And that, if we look at the lens of technology as a partner to accomplish tasks, we're still then encouraging critical thinking. And I think that's what we have to be worried about is if our youth stops being critical thinkers because they're relying on technology too much. Then we get to a point where that's a really potentially dangerous future, where we lose the ability to think for ourselves. We end up like WALL-E, where we're all just floating around on big, fancy scooters in a spaceship and large and can't move or do anything for ourselves, right? And that's where the people that understand how to still critically think, but then maximize technology to then maximize their potential, I think is like the really cool outcome of that, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the challenge of convincing students who maybe see this as like, well, why would I do that? I think this generation is really interesting because they're a big why generation. Mm-hmm. They're not a sit down and take it generation. Like if you can prove to a kid that this is an important thing, like they want a why. Like, why am I doing this? Like, you have to do your math homework. Why? Well, if you can prove to them why, they'll do it, right? But if you have no proof, of showing them, you can't just say to a kid because I said so anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's where if you say well, yeah, I don't have to learn that because AI can do it for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the AI is not always right. And the systems aren't always as efficient as you think they might be. So you still have to have that foundational knowledge. I'll kind of sum up the question with this. I gave a presentation to the CEO class through the Whiteside County Career Center. And I've done, like I said, 100 AI presentations. And this one I had a kid, he was 18 years old, and he asked the best question that I've gotten. Thousands of educators in my sessions. Nobody's asked a better question than this. And it goes to kind of that question of risk. And he said, what do you see as the value of a college education over the next 5 years because of the advancements of AI and technology? Mm. I was like, man, what a really insightful question from a 17 or 18-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Who's going into that world, who's going to pay potentially $100,000 or more for an education when his why is why would I do that if I can just use these systems to do it all for me? And it was cool because it made me think, and I came up with the response. So I was a high school history teacher. That's what I got my degree in. I got my degree in history. I double majored in history and government, political science, education. And so I told him, I said, well, here's the deal. I got my degree in history. I don't do anything with history now. I'm in tech. I teach teachers how to use technology. That doesn't have anything to do with history. But what my degree prepared me for was, as a historian, I have to ask questions, I have to research, I have to synthesize information, I have to provide that information back to, through a paper, through a podcast, through a video. I have to do all of those things. As a historian, you read, you synthesize, you come up with your own thesis, you present that thesis in some way. I do that now, but I do it with technology. I have to look at, why is ChatGPT a better tool than Gemini? Why is Gemini a better tool than ChatGPT? Research it, come up with my argument, present a thesis, talk to a group of teachers about it, make it make sense to them, what a good historian does. So I said that to him. I said, so while I don't maybe use my history degree, I use all the skills that I learned as a history student to be better at my job now. Mm-hmm. That my job didn't exist when I was in college 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So college is still important because it gives you those foundational skills in whatever field you're entering into to then be a better person, to be a better worker, to be a better employee. And I think that's the value of a college education, if you're going that route, right? And even in the trades, a plumber is not just gonna all of a sudden, because he has an AI tool, be able to go in and plumb a whole house.
Yeah.
Because an AI bot's there telling him how to do it. He still has to have the skills. He still has to learn. He still has that background. And that's the part that I think is the challenge, right? Of showing that we can't just rely on these AI tools. We can't rely on this technology. We have to be able to have that foundational balance to be able to still critically think. So it's a long-winded way to get to what's one of those risks that we have to look at, or what are those foundational skills that we need. I think it all sums up in that, is that we still need to make sure that our kids are learning, and that they're finding those things. But the learning is going to be different, right? You mentioned right before we came on, like, you know, it's like, hey, I want you to explain this to me like I'm in 5th grade, like using an AI. Yeah, that's perfect, right? Like there was a spider on our driveway the other day. I took a picture of it, uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I was like, what kind of spider is this?
Yeah.
And me and my son learned about what kind of spider that was. It was really cool. But we're not going to use that to like write a research paper.
Exactly.
Right? So we still need to like learn how to do that. You know, and I think that's kind of one of those things where that's the landscape, you know, is we have to find that critical balance of critical thinking and making sure our kids are still critical thinkers, that they're creating, that they're using technology for good. And yeah, it's a really exciting world that we're entering into, and nobody knows what it's going to look like. And I call that job security.
Well, thank you, Ben, for being here with me today.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to do it.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to our listeners and to our production crew as well. Remember that the Radar Free Press is free, so we do rely on those likes, shares, and comments to keep us thriving. And if you want to see more videos like this, check out theradar.online.